Dude, you are getting well. Hello world, it's Ben Belize here. Dude, you're getting well. I'm so excited for my guest today. This is one of my favorite people in the universe, and that's all I'm going to say. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone on this earth, the Kenyon Phillips.
Hi, everybody. Ben, how are you?
Man, I feel so blessed and grateful to be here with you today.
I feel the same.
Yeah, my heart is wide open, and that's easy to do with you. So I just want to acknowledge that in you and say thank you.
Oh yeah,
for who you are.
It's the same for me,
and that's why we wear these low-cut shirts. Oh my God, well, girl,
low-cut shirts. Let that heart out. Let that heart out.
Yes. Yes,
girl.
Yeah, at the sunshine. I love that you're outside. I just rode my bikes outside, playing songs about the sunshine on my phone, and then I went to take care of my friend's cat, and it like leapt outdoors into the sun and just laid at my feet, and I was like, yeah, we're after the same thing, you know.
We need the sun. All living beings need the sun.
And nature, you know.
Even non-living beings.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I feel like rocks probably. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, vitamin D. Yeah, the rocks. Although some people, I guess, say that the rocks are living and that, you know, they have a life force. We're all connected. We're all connected.
Right. Well, where are you coming from today?
Today, I am coming from my home in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and straight up the woods.
Yes. Ooh, I love it.
That's how we roll these days.
You got some grass to mow and shit. What's that like?
I know, seriously, boy. Seriously, I am so terrible at all of that. Anything practical and anything natural.
I spit out my coffee across my whole screen.
It's just not happening with me. I mean, I'm still learning. I'm a work in progress. But I am learning to do things like put salt in the well water and, you know, like things that I never even comprehended.
You have well water. Yeah,
we got well water.
That's wild. Yeah, one of the things that just hit me. So I'm sharing this because, you know, Kenyon and I both got out of the city. It's probably a lot of people during the pandemic. I don't know. It's like we're like just suddenly we're living with somebody else somewhere else, and there's a lot of woods around, and we're like, oh, maybe we should do this. This is good.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just nature is such a beautiful healing aspect, and it's so cool that they're out there. There was some other point I had to sharing that, but I totally lost it. So we're gonna move on. So I love it. So did you grow up in Sandy Hook? You don't.
No, I grew
as a typical Connecticut.
You know what? No, we are kind of like the Rocky Horror House at the end of the block here in Sandy Hook.
Oh, that's cool. I definitely want to come visit that house.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a light. I did not come from Connecticut. I did not come from the woods. I was raised in Pacific Palisades, California, which is a cushy suburb of Los Angeles that's wedged between like Santa Monica and Malibu. And I was in New York City for 22 years.
Wow.
And during my time in New York City, I never absconded to nature. I never even went to Central Park hardly. I was one of those people who just had no need for that or desire. I probably had a need. I didn't have a desire. So I am also a person of extremes, a man of extremes. So it's more comfortable for me to go from the city, the East Village, to the woods than it felt to go from, say, the city to a suburb or to a smaller city.
Yeah.
I was like, let's do this all or nothing.
Yeah.
And now it's interesting. My wife she's in a place where she's like, you know what? The pandemic maybe is sort of over and the world is opening up again. And I'm not sure I want to be this far out, you know?
Yeah.
away from the city, away from her family, and in literally the woods. And I'm just like, but wait, I'm starting to get used to this. I really
Yeah.
feel it. And
Yeah.
so we're at this point in our relationship where for the first time in 10 years of being together, we're like, oh wow, we're in different places. How
Mm.
do we navigate this?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
What a beautiful inquiry to be in.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Am I going on a tangent? Do you want me to
No,
like
no, this is beautiful. And I want to get in. Well, let's just go there first. We can always go back. So in your relationship, so you have a partner, you're married,
I'm married, yeah.
and you have
Again, something I never thought I would do.
2 kids. So you're just telling
2
me, and
children.
well, before we get on that, hold on. Just for in
Hold
case
up.
anyone doesn't know, like how how would you describe yourself to the world? Like how would you like to share? Like if someone's like, drop us into the world of Kenyon Phillips for a minute. Like just sprinkle, share a little bit, open the audience up to what your world is, who you are, what you
Sure.
care about, what you do
Well,
or not.
yeah, I mean, if I'm defined by what I do,
You're
if
not.
we if
So
we
you don't
if
have
we
to share that.
no, 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 but I mean, it's a helpful way to define who we are. When we're more than what we do,
Hmm.
I mean, so first off, without doing anything, I am a soul in a male identified body. I'm in my 46th year on this planet,
Mm.
in this incarnation. So, yeah, thank you. So so, and then in terms of what I do,
Well, a
I'm a
Scorpio
podcaster.
as well.
I'm a Scorpio, November
Mm.
3rd. Yeah,
Yes, or
November
shout
3rd.
out. Yes.
Yeah, and so we feel things very deeply and everything. The experience is always intense. And so yeah. But no, I in terms of what I do, I'm a podcaster, I'm a speaker, I'm a writer, I'm a singer, I'm a musician, I'm an actor and performer, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother, and hopefully I'm also a friend.
Beautiful friend. Yeah, you really are. I had
As
the
are you.
joy of seeing Kenyon perform an amazing show of I really remember Pinball Wizard from all of the things, but
Ooh, yeah,
it was at
at Joe's Pub.
yeah, at Joe's Pub, and it was just such an incredible night, and I just felt like I really got to see, like you in all your glory. It just made me love you even more. I'm like, yep, that's why he's my friend. He just, it's so free and such a just a way to put yourself out there and raw. And your podcast is something that it continues to inspire me. And
Thank
you allow
you.
yourself to be so vulnerable. And I think you choose that. I feel like from what I've seen in your life, you're someone, reason I wanted to have you on this show specifically is you're just someone who, I go towards the light, like go where it's warm and go to the people who I feel like who keep it real and, aren't afraid to put their cards on the table and share, just the rawness and that you also like are always in service of love, and I just love that. And any person who's a parent or a sibling or a son or a daughter or any of that, like, god, we're all miracles that we made it out of our families and we're here.
It's true.
So
Very true. Let's not forget that.
yeah, yeah, so that's, yeah, so did you want to say something else?
Oh no, I mean I'm up for everything. But you just said something that really struck with me. You struck me. You said we're here. And I think that's a big part of what I'm trying to do in this moment and in every moment, hopefully, is remember that I'm here
Mm,
and that you and I are here together. And this is sacred,
mm,
really. It's so easy for me to let fear take over and start obsessing about the past or future tripping, thinking about what I need to do, what's going to happen. I don't know. And all I really know is this present moment. I mean,
mm.
that's because I'm experiencing it right along with you. And
Yeah,
and when you said that we're here, I was like, oh yeah, thanks, Ben. We are
yeah,
here.
yeah. Well, you had shared, my pleasure. I mean, and I need the reminder too. And your podcast "Be Here Tomorrow" is such a just the name alone always kind of gives me chills and reminds me just to hang on, and just, one more day. And if you can just hang on until tomorrow,
Yeah.
what you're going through might shift. The world might, it's a new possibility at every moment. And I just saw the email subject the other day, and it was like in my heart, that was like how to deal with losing a friend, or when you lose a friend.
Yeah, losing a friend. Yeah.
Losing a friend. Yeah. And
That's a
there's
tricky
been
one.
a lot of loss in my life lately. Just laughing because it's almost like it got to the point where it was like, really, really, universe, but then
Yeah.
look for the lesson. I always look for the opportunity to see, one thing I'm sharing is my heart's been breaking. I'm allowing it to break open and just share my realness. And it's people like you who inspire me to do that. And just reminding us to be here tomorrow. And so what had you create this podcast?
It
Why
came
be here
about.
tomorrow?
Why be here tomorrow? It's very simple. I was suffering from depression and suicidal ideation, and I was really after the birth of my first child. So everyone's like, "Whoa, why, kids are supposed to make life better," and they do. I mean, they really do, and they can. And also for me, it really plunged me into a depression because I suddenly felt like my life had been derailed.
Yeah.
I wasn't in control. I had planned.
You were, right?
No, I wasn't in control. And from the time I was
laughter recognition. I would be laughing a lot throughout this.
There's gonna be a lot of laughter recognition. Yeah. And I just, in that moment, a few months after my son was born, I felt like, who am I? This is not what I signed up for. I am this, at the time I was in my early 40s. I'm like this old dad. All my peers had kids 10 years ago. Ever since I was 5 years old, I thought I needed to be a famous artist. And I felt like I hadn't achieved the level of fame and fortune that I had set for myself as a child. And that I was, just, hey, you're this dad who makes his money in advertising and marketing, and you're a bitter disappointment and a failure. And what kind of a father are you going to be? And what kind of a husband are you going to be? Better probably for you to just end it all and leave now before you fuck up everybody else in your family. And so that was a really strong message I was getting from what I like to term my diseased thinking. And so at that time, I had this amazing heart-opening talk with my wife. My wife is frequently the mouthpiece of my higher power, I've found. In a Jersey accent. And yeah, so she said, okay, I hear you. And did it ever occur to you that maybe your greatest talent and the reason you're here in this incarnation is to help people? And I thought, no, I haven't thought about that. And she said, you take a lot of calls from people who need help. And it seems like the work you do creatively helps people. And the way you are a father helps your child. And the way you're a husband and a partner to me helps me. And even advertising and stuff like that, the work you do for money, that's of service. So what if you turned helping people into an art form, specifically and directly? And then the light bulb went off of be here tomorrow, create a podcast that is about reasons to live, finding reasons to live. Being, as you mentioned earlier, as vulnerable as I task myself with that. How can I be as vulnerable as I possibly can in a world where men are trained, or at least I was trained as a man, not to be vulnerable? Hey, you're supposed to have this all under control. And I don't. So what if I share that with the world in this, sort of bite-sized podcast? I try to make them 10 minutes or under, so that, you know, it's the perfect amount of time if you're going to go get in the car and run an errand, or if you're going to walk down to the bodega and back, you know, you can listen to an episode.
10 minutes, you said?
About 10 minutes. I try to
That's
keep them like 10
awesome.
or under. Yeah, they're short. They're
That's
short.
great. I
And so,
love
yeah,
that.
but Be Here Tomorrow, literally the title is hang on, don't kill yourself today.
Yeah.
And for me, a message for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And be here tomorrow. There's a
Mm.
lot to be here for.
Yes, I fucking love you.
I love you too.
You know, it's such a champion thing for me because it's, you know, I see so many groups out there, and I run men's groups and I talk about this. And the reason I'm a champion for men's work and men doing quote unquote work at anything to gain tools and practice being with other men is, you know, it's just so rare. And there's so many programs that are like power up and like more powerful and alpha
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
And, you know, showing up is important, but we're getting, as you said, trained in this world. My experience from everyone I've talked to and worked with and listened for in the world I've grown up in my experience, as privileged as it's been, has been that like just we've all been forced to try to dominate and get validation through productivity and through working hard. And then what? And my father-in-law almost died recently because he was in his final days of working overnight shifts, and he's a sergeant, and it was killing him, and he retired early, and it saved his life. But that was like, I mean, I still celebrate him as much as I can for that, because any if we don't make it to retirement, then what the hell is the point if you don't live? You know, if we could work as hard on our wellness as we do on our work or productivity or that external validation, all the pressure we put on ourselves, and men still have the highest rate of suicide. And I've lost many friends to that. So anyone who's out to champion a cause of vulnerability and practice being safe with other men is like, you get my motherfucking boat. You know, and that's why I really, you know, it's like, what can I do to have the world know more people like you? And that, you know, hopefully together we can raise our voice even more, right? Because you're one of the men I met in a group of men where I got to practice being vulnerable and practice reparenting and healthy boundaries and trusting other men and having healthy, like being emotional and not being okay and being okay, and being of service. And so I just want to give a shout out to all of that. And that, you know, it's, and thank you for being a 46-year-old father of two, because I know that I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, and thank you to all the dads who have helped their partners through miscarriages. So I know that I can do that. And all the women who have stepped forward. Like, women are, it's no wonder I mean, we're just from a gender sex standpoint, like, it's terrifying. Of course, men can be scared of this thing that is so incredible, that can create and destroy life. And we're a part of that, but like they're a force, you know, and to allow them to lead and grow and learn from that. So you as a father making space for your partner despite gender, right? Like, now
Right.
let's take gender out of the conversation, but I've been watching a woman's body over the last few months go through all kinds of things, and I'm just like constantly mind blown of anyone who's been pregnant or anyone who's been a parent, because that is no joke. And
It's crazy.
we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it enough. And men don't know how to support their partners through that. There's so much we can and should and could be doing to step up. And so I just want to thank you for walking the walk and being real about it, so that, you know, men, like, I know that I can do it. You know, even if I'm like, I'm too old, it's like, no, wait, like, I could do it. I can still wait a few years. I could be like Kenyon, you know, I'll be
Oh,
okay.
yeah. No, you're not too old. And whenever I start, I think that a lot too. You know, I woke up this morning and I had like back pain, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, I can't get down and play with my 3-year-old. But
Yeah.
no, whenever you're feeling too old, think of this. I was at a party once, a house party, and Harvey Keitel was there, and
I
he at
love
that
him.
point was in his early 70s.
What?
And he said, and I said, he said, "Do you have kids?" And I said, "No, I'm never having children." And at this point, I was, this was a good 15 years ago, probably,
Yeah.
and much younger. And I said, "You?" And he said, "Oh yeah, my 4-year-old Roman. That's my 4-year-old. He's right over there." And I was like, "Holy shit! This dude is in his 70s and has a 4-year-old. Okay."
Okay.
All right, I could, yeah. So just think of that. Just think of the wolf from Pulp
Harvey
Fiction
Keitel, yeah.
with his now, probably, I guess now 20-year-old maybe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And let's honor the people who are having to carry these children, right, and go through this stuff.
Yeah,
too. Like,
absolutely.
and and you're like, and I'm depressed, and we're not supposed to be. Kids are supposed to make our life better. Fuck that. Any parent I've talked to is like, this is by far the hardest and best thing that's happened to me, but it wasn't always just best. Like, and let's talk about postpartum depression. Now they're studying postpartum depression for men, finally.
Yeah.
Because yes, we are also there, and hopefully. And
it hit me.
Yeah. So thank you for talking about that, because that's real. And you may not bond with, you may see and not even all mothers bond with their children. You see this thing and be like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know who this is. Like, I got to get to know this thing, and I'm supposed to take care of it. Like, no
right.
way.
And then there's such
and now my life is over, or something.
Well, there's a knee-jerk response too to say, like, okay, well, I'm not bonding with this child, and what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And that's a bummer. When we start really, we're already having a tough time, and then we start judging ourselves or beating up on ourselves.
Yeah, that doesn't help that. But the awareness is a great step out, right? So what did you want to be when you grew up? You were talking about being an actor and stuff like that. Like, and you're doing all this great, beautiful stuff now, and leading with love and vulnerability. Is that what you thought of when you were a kid?
Oh no, I thought what I thought was literally, I was
grow up and be a father of 2 in Connecticut,
right?
And I'm going to have this many kids, and I'm going to do this.
No. When I was 5 years old, I had a very clear vision that I wanted to be an actor, and I wanted to be an actor because I wanted to be someone else. I didn't love my life. I didn't love who I was. I felt that there were a great many limitations to being a kid growing up in the suburbs. I just wanted to be, I just wanted to be essentially an artist. And then when
was there an artist that inspired you, like as a kid? Like, I want to be like that.
Oh yeah. When I was 12 years old, that was my first exposure to David Byrne and the Talking Heads. And literally it set my mind on fire. I remember I watched this movie. I was aware of the Talking Heads.
Stop Making Sense.
Stop Making Sense came later. I watched that, and that really blew my mind. But no, I watched this movie called True Stories that he did. That was like a musical comedy that he put out. That was actually a flop. It came out. It was supposed to be the big follow-up to Stop Making Sense, and that movie was, to me, a truly postmodern, brilliant piece of work with incredible music and songs, telling a story about this fictional town in Texas called Virgil, celebrating its sesquicentennial. And the thing is, the story was drawn from Weekly World News tabloid articles. So the script was essentially a bunch of these articles patched together and following the lives of these characters. And I was just completely the style of it, and the as I said, the music really, really inspired me and made me think, I just want to be this guy. I want to be David Byrne. And so I immediately started digesting every piece of musical output I could get my ears on that he had created. And then, okay, all these amazing people he's collaborated with, let me absorb all that. Let me listen to Brian Eno and Parliament Funkadelic and watch Robert Wilson theater pieces. And so as a child, 12 to now, basically, like, just amassing all of this really inspirational and in some cases avant-garde art.
Some people may not know about that. I mean, I didn't even know who Robert Wilson was till I was in an experimental theater program at New York University, like in the East Village. And then someone was like, hey, you want to go to the show? This guy is crazy. Let's go. It's around the corner.
It's it's his stuff is really next level. But yeah, so I really did think, okay, I want to create. Not only do I want to be, initially it was just like I want to be an actor because I want to be ET. I literally want to be ET. And then it became this whole idea of, well, no, I would like to be a multidisciplinary artist. I'd like to be somebody who's working in different media, who's sometimes working in music, sometimes working on stage as a performer, as an actor, sometimes writing, sometimes doing visual art, sometimes doing, and now podcasting. Podcasting is this amazing, for me, this amazing amalgam of music composition, because I compose ambient pieces for all of my episodes, and and in a sense voiceover, because you're talking, and also service, like, hey, how can I put something out there that helps people and it has a message?
So how did you go from, and then what was your, like, what environment did you grow up in? So you grew up in California, in Southern California?
I grew up in Southern California. I grew up in Pacific Palisades, which was, again,
like, what was the dynamic in your household or in your like high school? Like, what was your role? Like, if you could look back and see a little movie, like, what would that look like?
Let's go there. Let's see. Let's go there. Wow. From this, as far as back as I can remember, my role in my home was the entertainer and the emotional caretaker. I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. I just thought that was the way things are. And that's, the price of admission, essentially. I've been given the gift of life by my parents and a heck of a lot of, material privilege. I was raised in a upper middle class environment with material wealth. The fact that my parents relied on me as to be the sort of glue in their marriage and to support them emotionally, I just thought, well, hey, this is what we do.
No pressure. Yeah.
No pressure, just deal with it and just do it. And I was good at it. I was good at it. I don't think there's any accident that I had that role in my family. I played that role in my family, and I chose to become a performer. Hey, if I can do this at home, why not do this for the world? Why not do this for an audience? Take people through, and it's not all negative. In a sense, the gift, the generosity of a performer, of an artist, is profound, because I think the whole point of being an artist is to inspire a me too on the part of the audience or the viewer or the reader. Oh yeah, that's where I'm not alone. If I can create something that makes people feel that way, then I've succeeded. But that's where I come from. And that's where I come from.
Thank you for saying that too, because that just hit me as an artist. Like, one of the plays I was in, it's the Crusade of Connor Stevens, and I got to play this role of this. It was just,
which I got to see.
It was brutal. Oh, that's right. Yeah. And it was, and I always wanted, and I did a one-man show too, and I've seen you in some work, and there can be such a stigma for artists of like, oh, look at me or look at them. And it's, for me, I remember even now when I'm playing live shows, like, I like to play and then I like to just go away. I just want to like move the audience and leave. Like, I don't even want to be like necessarily congratulated or like just stand and receive, I just want to like move and bounce. That's my practice, is to be vulnerable and show up. People have taken time and to be present with them. Like, that's part of it. But I just noticed as an artist, like, it doesn't have to be all artists aren't self-absorbed. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. There's actually like a great, some of us are out there to really make change in the world. And so I also challenge all of our listeners, because I always say, like, I help creative professionals, and I've even worked with engineers, and they're like, well, I'm not creative. I'm like, being an engineer is incredibly creative. Even in the math you're using, it's creative, right? So
everything,
just like, that you inspire creatives. And so just a shout out to the creatives. So you grew up, you're great in this role. Then how did you go from playing this role at home to, I don't know, like, what did you do when you graduated high school? Did you just become an actor right away? Did you graduate high school?
I did. Okay,
what I did?
Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, it was awesome. I went to a great school. It was a boarding school. It was called Thatcher. and every incoming freshman was given a horse for a whole year to take care of.
Whoa.
So
Reminds me of the book A Separate Peace.
Totally. Yeah,
Like, that's where I wanted to go to school growing up. Yeah.
that was very much where I went to school. That was the vibe, except it was in California.
Yeah.
But so I had an unusual set of circumstances in that my father was a commercial director, so I was sort of born into the biz, and I was a child actor. So
oh wow, I don't think I actually knew that about you.
I was in commercials. I don't know if I talk about it a lot, but yeah, I was in commercials, my dad's commercials to begin with, and then right.
What was that like? What's the impact later? Like, and as you know, like.
The impact later is good and bad, I would say, for me. It's good in the sense that my father opened me up to this whole world of the set, and which is magical, can be. And like the idea that you create a family when you're on set, even if it's just a one-day shoot, you create a family. And
that always messed me up, because then the family's just broken and then no one talks to each other again. It's like, hey, we're gonna be family, and then it's like, hey, I'll talk to you soon, and like, you know.
It's kind of like having a one-night stand.
Yeah, I used to get depressed after every play because it's like, we're all close, and then like you never.
Most actors do. I think most actors do,
which is okay. It's, I guess, it's a part of life, right?
It's, well, hey, I have a good friend who says everything is about acceptance of what is. So if I can accept that that's disappointing and depressing, and there's a hangover, okay. But it was negative, I think, having my dad in that position, in that I was working for him, and we can, if we're not careful, my father and I can default to a contractual, conditional relationship where I'm doing something to please him, or I'm literally executing a service for him. And that, I think, for me, stood in the way, and probably for him too, stood in the way of unconditional love, a free flow of just, I can be who I am, and my dad's going to love me no matter what.
Wow.
So I think that's,
shout out to the loving fathers.
Yeah. And my dad is, to his credit, he is working on it now. He's 87 years old.
Wow.
And he's in a 12-step recovery program. He is down to talk. He really wants to talk, and he wants to have, he wants to be present as he can. And he works on loving acceptance. And the relationship we have is really, really good. It's probably better than it's ever been. My relationship with my father, and certainly for me, having children of my own, deepened my compassion for him. It really formed a bond that wasn't there necessarily beforehand.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. And there's a question I was going to ask about that. Well, I just, again, want to give, this is what it was. Yeah. So how do we access, like, being vulnerable and present now, like, so we don't have to wait till we're 87?
Yeah,
right? That's one of the things I look at. And when I say that, like, what comes to mind for you? Like, there's no right answer, but
there's a tool. I think there's a tool that we can use to not put it off.
I love sharing tools here. Yeah.
And the tool for me is self-acceptance over self-improvement. If I can actively work on accepting myself as I am, then it is a tremendous defense against this toxic thinking that I grew up with, and that I still have, which tells me I'm never going to be good enough. No matter what, I am never going to be good enough. So I'd better overachieve. I'd better suffer. I'd better, make this much money, have this much sex, have this many children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. None of that is going to make me vulnerable.
Yeah.
None of that is going to take me into the present moment. It's going to take me into a fear-driven future. So again, if I can focus on self-acceptance, not self-improvement, let's be here now. Let's.
Yes.
Like, can I love? I mean, and I ask you, Ben, can you love yourself in this moment? Do you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you accept yourself where you are?
Mostly, for the most part. And I'm working on the other parts. I noticed myself staring at my belly in the mirror this morning, and I was like, oh, note to self. look at you shaming yourself. Like, that's something you can work on today. And so that's what I'm taking on.
Yeah, big
Um,
time.
I Yeah, I'm really, the more I do this, it reminds me, it holds me accountable. I mean, I build mountains of accountability to remind me of who I am and what I love about myself. And whether it's friends like you, and I avoid that sometimes. Some of those people who are so loving and see you and relate that, it can feel like, oh, like hard to be with, unfamiliar or uncomfortable to be with that. And so
Yeah,
this is like, the more I get to speak and work with other men, especially, I'm reminded of this. And I love that you're saying this quote specifically, and I wrote it in the chat: this self-acceptance over self-improvement. Um, because I've had another guest on here who's all about self-improvement and always trying to better himself for tomorrow. And so there's different schools of thought of whatever works for you. And I do see, like I said at the beginning, this habit of I think it's good to want to better oneself, but if it's like, if that's what's driving you, that if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. Or comparing yourself to other people who maybe you see doing more self-improvement and
yeah,
look like they're crushing it on Instagram. One of the first things I tell my clients is, if that stuff like feeds your negative self-talk, then just shut it off. Stop looking at it.
yeah.
Spend that time with yourself. So I'm all about radical self-acceptance. I think as men, especially, we've been taught, to like push our emotions away in order to survive and build and thrive and carry the weight. But it actually keeps everyone out and keeps the people we want most close away from us. And so if we can practice just being more loving and tender with ourselves, that maybe we can actually start feeling more loving and tender with each other.
Absolutely.
And like,
And talking
that
about
would be a great way, yeah, to change the world. So thank you for reminding me of that today.
oh, for sure. And I want to make something clear. Self-improvement, I mean, for me to be on a spiritual path means to be on some level working towards self-improvement.
Yeah.
I'm on a spiritual, I do consider myself to be on a spiritual path in that I want to be vulnerable. I want
Yeah.
to be helpful. I want to be of service. I want to attain some form of enlightenment, or at least try,
Yeah.
and foster connection.
Yeah.
So, my, my, I don't want to poo-poo the idea of self-improvement. For someone like me
No, yeah,
who has been driven by the need, the compulsion to overcompensate and to overachieve and to improve, work out 2 hours a day, only eat, no carbs, all that stuff.
yeah.
It can be really punishing. And I love what you said about the belly in the mirror, because guess what, folks? I'm 46 years old. I work out the same as I did when I was 35, and yet my abs don't show anymore. Even though, like, I'm more
Yeah.
stringent about my diet now than I was when I was 35,
Mhm.
I'm a middle-aged man, and I have some extra around my
Mhm.
middle. Does that make me unlovable?
Hmm.
What about the
Or
fact
less than.
yeah, right, what about the fact that I shaved my head
Mm.
because, I went bald when I was much, much younger, and my hairline receded, and I there's a part of me for many years, I thought, "That's what's standing in the way of my success. That's what's standing in the way of my being lovable. If
Yeah.
only I had hair like Johnny Depp, all my problems would be solved." And
Yeah.
the truth is, I wear hats because I'm comfortable with hats, and but I can also take my hat off in front of you and know that you don't think less of me for it.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. I think it's courageous and being vulnerable. And there's so much for men tied to our hair as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we all can get tied to things on our body. So it's a great practice of non-attachment. It's one of the things men fear the most. So when that happens, it's like, oh, well, that's one of the things I feared the most, and I'm still living.
Yeah.
I had friends who were going bald at 16, so I couldn't complain. And other friends who got massive wind coming through on your end. It's okay. Uh, we're all with you in the outdoors today. And then other friends who got hair plants in order to get more roles, right? In theater, Broadway, or film or whatever. So, yeah, just here's to being vulnerable and real around that. I want to ask you, because we're getting close to time, and there's a few other questions I want to get to. What would you say is the hardest lesson you've had to learn coming into an adulthood?
There are so many lessons I've learned around that idea that I just spoke of feeling like I'm never going to be good enough. And I think there was, and I bring that up because there's a certain amount of heartbreak for me around the idea that what happened in my life was I thought I was doing everything right. I really did. I did the math, right? At a very young age, from a very young age, I did the math. Okay, if my end goal is this.
Wait, sorry, I got to pause you for a second. The wind got crazy.
Sorry.
We can get you. Yeah. Try that again.
Again, how about now? Is this better?
Yeah, better.
Cool. The lesson, the heartbreak for me was no matter how hard I worked, even though I did all this planning and did the math in order to get from point A to point B, I didn't get to point B. I thought in order to be a rich and famous artist by the time I'm in 25, I have to get perfect grades, go to the right school, get the right training, avoid drugs and alcohol and cigarettes, go to the gym, read these books, watch these movies, listen to this music, and have this much sex, and everything will be, that's the way. And guess what happened? Despite my, again, stringent overcompensation and taking all of these, taking all these steps and all these measures, these radical measures, and having all this discipline, life did not serve me what I expected, what I ordered. I went to the restaurant, I placed my order. I didn't get a Denver omelet, So the lesson is what you just said. How do I keep going? How do I keep going when life isn't the way I imagined it would be?
Yeah.
Despite having taken all the right steps, quote unquote.
Yeah.
How do I keep going? And again, I think it really keys into that idea of self-acceptance. Here is where I am. Just for today, let me believe that where I am is where I'm supposed to be. And that's a lesson I need to keep learning. And some days are better than others.
Yeah. So how do you practice how do you take care of Kenyon? What are some of the practices that you use in your everyday life, or tools that you use that work for you? Like, what does that look like? How do you be like a father of two and have a business and a partner and do podcasts and take care of yourself? Like, how do you do it? What does it look like?
You ask for help. You ask for help, which is really hard for me to do. There's still a part of me that resists that thinks I don't deserve help. And going back to vulnerability, I'm a man. I should have this all figured out. I shouldn't need help. To ask for help is to admit failure. But the truth is, I need a lot of help. I need help from people I work with to make deadlines. I need help from friends who are audio engineers to help me optimize the sound on my podcasts. I need help from my wife to share the load of, caring for children, and cleaning the house and things like that. So asking for help is definitely the best tool in my belt. I don't always avail myself of it, but I'm getting a little bit better. Other tools that I need to just sort of sustain myself are meditation, even if it's just 5 minutes in the morning. The goal is twice a day for 20 minutes. I don't often make it, but I try.
Start somewhere. Yeah.
Exercise, for sure. I have to move for at least an hour a day. I try to do like an hour and a half a day. Sometimes my wife complains that it's closer to 2 hours a day. But exercise is really necessary for me to sort of manage my depression. Green juice I make myself a green juice every day. I make myself a protein smoothie every day. Those help me sort of get right-sized and maintain an equilibrium. And that, and yeah, so those are the tools, the sort of
Mhm.
basics that come to mind.
And thank you for sharing that and revealing under the hood a little bit. And do you have any practice to maintain your relationship with your partner through all
I
this?
need, I'll tell you, Ben, have I have been treating, in many ways, since the second child was born in December, I have been treating my marriage and my partnership like a cactus that you never water.
Hmm.
And the result is it's gotten to a point where my wife said to me, she said, we're not connecting.
Hmm.
And I feel a million miles away from you. So what can we do?
Hmm.
Um, I asked for help. I have a good friend who knows a lot of therapists, and I called one up, and she said, "Yeah, I'll see you." I work with couples, and so
Oh,
we instantly, like within a day, we
yeah.
scheduled an appointment, and this therapist gave us some really cool tools.
Oh,
She said, and one of them is a breathing exercise.
yeah.
My wife and I work together. We raise these children together. We're working from home. We're in this house together, and yet we're not always together in a little,
Yeah.
and we're together literally, but not
Yeah.
figuratively. With this breathing exercise, we take a minute, we set a stopwatch, we stop whatever we're doing, we hold hands, and we breathe together so that our breath is in sync.
Hmm.
And we just do that for a minute.
Do you look at each other or close your
Yeah,
eyes or you look at each other?
we look at each other, and for me, it's a great reminder of, oh wow, I'm here with somebody else. This isn't just the Kenyon show where I'm
I'm like
scrambling.
starting to cry as you say this. What a simple, powerful, attainable tool. Thank you for sharing that with us. My
Very,
God,
very,
I love
very,
that. And shout out
very
to therapists. I have a coach and a therapist and groups, and like Cassie and I got one as soon as we were like working on getting pregnant again because it's bringing up a lot of stuff for us. And there was many days where we felt like we were not connected. And so thank you for being real.
Oh yeah, there's no shame in
Yeah.
asking for help.
Yeah.
Marriage is tough. Marriage is, you know, you need a license to drive, but you don't need a license to get married,
Oh my
really.
God.
I mean, anybody can do it, and
Ugh.
it's a whole universe
Yeah.
you know of experience, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of challenges, and
Yeah.
I don't think I know anyone who's in a happy, sustainable marriage who has not asked for help at some point
Mm. Mm.
and sought out a marriage counselor.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's great to hear that, just the power of help and not doing it alone. And, one of the reasons Cassie and I decided to have a wedding was because we actually wanted to be witnessed by our community and wanted to have that ritual and rite of passage so that people could, remind us that we're not alone. And we could remember, like, here's all these people. You think you're
Witnesses.
alone. Yeah, you can't hide from us. We guys heard you. And you agreed to let your community support you, right? And we've gotten really isolated after the pandemic and during, especially. And so it's no doubt that some of us have felt way more disconnected and depressed, and we might actually have to work a little bit more for it. So thank you for sharing the ways you do. And a couple more questions before we go. These are a little quicker.
Yeah.
But what would you say is your superpower?
My superpower, my smile.
Nice. Nice.
And I say that not from a place of egocentrism or narcissism. My smile shows you how I'm feeling.
Mm.
It broadcasts. So, there are times when I'm not smiling.
Yeah.
But the times when I am smiling, I mean it.
Yeah.
And I like that I can broadcast joy with my smile.
I love that. And if your life were a movie or a blockbuster film, who would you, well, first of all, what would be the title?
The title of the movie of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there's so many.
It's like one of the first ones that pops to your mind.
I like Be Here Tomorrow, the Kenyon Phillips story.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I like that.
Okay, cool. So who would you cast as your parents?
Ooh, that's a great one. I've done shows where I have my parents as characters,
Of course
and
you
in
have.
one, so of course I'm privy to like my original casting,
Yeah.
even though it's not necessarily age appropriate. But Daphne Rubin Vega from In the Heights and Rent, and
Yeah.
she played my mother, and she
Wow.
was terrific. Katie Huffman, who won a Tony for the producers, Katie Huffman was a great. Linda Phillips, my mom, she played my mom too. She was wonderful. Rachel Ticotin, who you may remember from Total Recall. She
Oh
was the
yeah.
female.
Wow. Oh my
She was a great.
gosh.
She was amazing as my mother too.
You're like
Um,
naming all my
I,
favorite productions too.
yeah. No, and my father was played by the acting coach Brad Calcaterra,
I
who's
know
also an
that
actor.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's pretty amazing, and he did an incredible job. And Gabriel Barr, the actor Gabriel Barr, who's also a director,
Mhm.
he played my father in one production, and he was amazing too. But I think if we were going to go for new casting, that would be perhaps a little bit more age appropriate.
Yeah.
Let's see, Susan Sarandon would make a great mom,
Nice.
and my father would be played to the hilt by it's tough. This is a tough one. I think George Papard would be a great, if we could bring him back from the dead.
Yeah.
Hannibal from the A-Team.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Wow.
let's do
That's
that. Let's do
amazing.
that.
Okay, cool. Hell yeah. George Papard and Susan Sarandon.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Perfect. We'll reach out to the powers that be.
Let's have a
Um,
seance. Yeah.
so lastly, because I know you got to go, one more question. Do you have time for one more? Okay.
I do.
If you could wave a magic wand and you could give the world one gift today, what would it be?
Unconditional love. Unconditional love of self, unconditional love for each other. I think our relationship to ourselves and how much we love ourselves is a sort of ceiling on how much love we can give other people. So what the world needs now is love, and let's make it unconditional.
I love it. And if it were unconditional, what do you think it would look like?
It
What do you
would
see
look like,
everyone doing?
I would see people taking better care of themselves and listening more to themselves and therefore to each other. Let's listen more, and let's not worry ourselves with talking and with action. Let's not just do something, let's sit there.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kenyon. You can learn more about Kenyon Phillips at thekenyonphillips.com. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And his podcast is Be Here Tomorrow. You can find it everywhere you stream. I highly recommend. They're short. You can use them on the way to the deli and back. Listen to them anytime you want. And most importantly, I want to thank everyone who's a part of this, who's listening live or later in person. And please share this with someone who you know could use it so that we can spread this medicine of love against all the crazy algorithms out there, and really get this, this medicine, this vulnerability out. So if you like what you heard, please let us know. Please write us. And Kenyon, thank you again for your time and your energy and your vulnerability. I love you, brother.
You. I love you, Ben. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Have a beautiful, blessed day.
You too.